All right. Pentagon releases third batch of declassified UFO files. So, our intense fascination needs to be satiated. As per the usual, they are going to give us the bare minimum. They're not going to, they're not going to go into interdimensional travel. Humans aren't ready for that. At least the majority of civilians that work, in normal jobs. I'm not saying that I'm above them. I'm part of this class and this crew. I'm saying we as a think of your coworker right now. Think of every coworker you have right now. Mentally picture them and think about you telling them everything you've learned from this show. Think of you telling them about extra-dimensional craft. Think of you telling them about the fact that this thing is able to bend gravity around itself and cut through water and air. Sometimes it's able to, travel at the speed of sound, as far as we know. And there might be species of aliens that are in contact with the United States government. In fact, there are. And MK Ultra in general was a product of mind manipulation tactics that were forged by the Nazis originally, and then they were actually given the plans for this by extra-dimensional beings. These people, when they find out the depth and the layers, the actual factual nature that consciousness is not just this thing that we theorize about in books. It is like a field of power and energy that these people have been able to detect with machines. They've been able to detect it with brain waves. They have been able to find out telekinesis and Stranger Things and shit like that. That shit is that's based off of the shit that they've were working on at Project Montauk. All this shit. That's what they serve it to you in the most gentle ways possible. But there is people out there that apparently are able to astral project. They're able to spy on you without physically being there, because they can somehow, one way or another, they can leave their bodies via some sort of consciousness projection. We don't know, but consciousness is malleable and it's able to be transmuted somehow. And eventually, and I'm sorry to give you the blueprints, but they want all of our consciousnesses, these sort of things that we might know as a soul or whatever. They want to transmute these things. They at least want to suck their power into the greater system. They want to make a mega power grid of the generative AI intelligence. They don't want a large language model. They want to create something that they believe is actually conscious. Granted, I don't know whether or not it will be conscious by that point. If it's feeding off of human consciousness, that's just a whole other lane of debate. That's just sort of like a thing where we don't even know what is consciousness. We don't know if the computer will gain consciousness through all of the intermediaries, sort of the chips in our brains when they eventually feast off of your consciousness. Will that sort of give a computer a degree of consciousness? We don't know. We're dealing with new sciences we never thought we'd ever have to deal with, because you are now able to do things like give paralyzed people the ability to move again because of the chips that they are giving them. It's ridiculous. It's insane what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. We're dealing with transhumanism. They want you to leave your body. That is the deal. The end deal here, where we're eventually going to here, is they want the third dimensional being that you are, where you're able to peek into the fourth and fifth dimension, and we know that there's 12, maybe more than that, is at least 12 confirmed by science and whatnot. They want they want your energy as a conscious physical being to be siphoned off, to suck it up by their systems. They want to use it in order to sort of use you like a battery. It's Matrix style. I'm sorry to say it, but it is like you are being harvested. Your physical, your conscious energy is being harvested by these technologies. These sort of laptops, this social media and whatnot. All of this sort of stuff is designed in order to capture your consciousness, your time, your effort, your energy. So you physically decay. You physically don't live longer. You don't spend your time effectively. You don't. You are a slave to whatever they put before you. That is the end goal here. And what they want to do eventually is they don't want there to be a laptop and you. They want the laptop and you to be one. They want eventually your systems to power their system. If you tell your coworker all of this shit, they're going to lock you in an asylum. They're gonna think you're mental. They're gonna throw you on the Canada MAID program and get you euthanized. And then they would call you crazy for saying that they killed you with the MAID program because they said, actually, no, eugenics is good for society somehow. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the Pentagon's release of the third batch now of declassified UFO files.
The Pentagon today released the third batch of declassified files related to unidentified anomalous phenomena, more commonly known as UFOs. The 72 newly released files date from the 1940s
those are lights
to this year and include materials from the FBI, CIA, Department of Defense, and NASA. They include multiple videos taken by eyewitnesses, like this one you're looking at, showing what appears to be glowing red orb-like objects in the sky.
Those are lanterns that you release at fucking the Chinese New Year and shit.
In a statement, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said in part, quote, "These files, hidden behind classifications, have..."
I love how Pete Hegseth is like, we can't figure out what a kite is.
...fueled justified speculation, and it's time the American people see it for themselves. He went on to say the release was part of the Trump administration's commitment to unprecedented transparency. Joining us now is NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Kube.
Courtney Kube, prove to us how smart you are.
What do they show us? I know you're just going through them all, but what do we see?
What do we see?
Yeah, so one thing that I've been struck by in going through these, Kate, is what you just showed there, the video of those two red orbs. More and more of the videos in this release, or this batch of documents and videos, show red orbs than the previous two releases. Another thing that was really striking is...
Ladies and gentlemen, we were promised disclosure of aliens. We were promised, like, Roswell disclosures. We were promised that, like, no, we were going to talk about how the government lied to you about a weather balloon being the cause of that whole situation. We're going to actually give you the in-depth details. And they got people on the news talking about orbs in the sky. What is the lie at this point even? So the lie is we're not going to serve you like, okay, the aliens are here, but we don't know anything about them. That's not the lie they're serving, because admittedly, they've been working with the aliens for a long time. They take drugs in order to talk to them extra-dimensionally and whatnot. That's how DMT sort of taps them into a new dimension of reality. They all see the clockwork elves and whatnot. The elves try to make a deal with them in order to sort of, by the way, the DMT elves and whatnot, this is sort of also what it's rumored that the Freemasons commune with whenever they do their drug-related ceremonies and whatnot. It's that they see these things they believe to be demons that are telling them they need to lower the population, they need to lower the birth rates, they need to kill people as much, like the world will be happier once we're all dead. This is in general why the whole plot is to kill, lower the population, lower IQ, get people to question things less. That is the general service idea that is being put out by everybody, by the way. Everybody. These are from the highest politicians that are killing children themselves, all the way down to your local police officers who don't tell you if they're a Freemason or not when they pull you over and you ask them. It's a good idea to, by the way, if you get pulled over to ask if you're a Freemason, that's just a fun thing. And most of them will they'll either be straight with you and say, no, but we do got a few of them in the police union and whatnot, or they'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's the two generally served answers that you get. But it is confirmed a lot of local police officers are Freemasons. These people are unfortunately the ones that are defending the sex traffickers, the people that are, making children disappear, flying children in without birth certificates, moving freight crates, of children into this country. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate. It's not a great thing, but they want you to be talking about orbs rather than the fact that the actual world leaders are communing on drugs with what they believe to be extra-dimensional demons, aliens, as they some of the more biblically minded ones think they're demons. Some of the more realist minded ones know that they're kind of these extra-dimensional aliens as we know them. But they just they're all sort of in the same game of like, well, we're talking to something that most people would call us crazy if they knew we were experiencing, but we're all experiencing at the same time. We must know it's true. So they all, let's get blackmail on each other. Let's kill and try to lower the birth rate and the IQ of the general populace. Let's get them all to eat garbage that gives them cancer, and let's just kind of collect their money while we do it. How does that sound? And then they're like, all right, deal.
The videos in this this one are taken on iPhones. There's a lot more recent video than we've seen in the previous two, which included a lot more video from U.S. military aircraft. So it's just grainier and darker, whereas you can see here, you can make out colors in some cases of these more recent ones. There you go again, some more of these red orbs that
we're talking about something that, on the degree of the Dwight Eisenhower administration crafting a decades-long lie to hide the fact that we have extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional technology. What are we talking about? Orbs. We're talking about files that include videos of just kind of these fuzzy things in the sky. What are we doing? Are we just all going to collectively buy into this kind of whatever, this side story? Speaking of side stories, that's actually going to be my next story, because if by the way, until the Pentagon decides to give you genuine things that are going to actually stir up actual conversation about the government keeping things secret. Disclosure Day, by the way, the new Steven Spielberg movie, a ton of critics are saying it's a big nothing burger, and you know what, interestingly enough, I believe them. It doesn't sound like it's very good. It sounds like Steven Spielberg's lost his touch lately. I'm sorry to say it. A lot of his newer movies I'm not the biggest fan of, but that's okay. Everybody can have their own opinions. It doesn't really matter. I'm still looking forward to Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, despite the fact that in the Iliad it's going to be played by... Achilles is going to be played by Juno. Shut the fuck up. You're going to go see it anyways. You're going to go see it anyways. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's Christopher Nolan, and as far as we know, he does not swing and miss, except for his last movie, Tenet, I didn't love. Was that his last movie, or was it Oppenheimer? I lose track. Doesn't matter. It does not matter what I'm talking about. What does matter is that, ladies and gentlemen, ring the bells.